Welcome in to Check the Mic, presented by FanDuel. Steve Palazzolo Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube. It's our Wednesday update show. I always call this my favorite show, Sam, because we could just ramble. We could just talk about anything here.
Yeah, it's the one with less structure than the others. You know,
less
don't
structure.
Have to get through 16 games. You do whatever.
Never know what's going to show up on the Wednesday update here. But we have a monster show, as always. We got our Shouty Shows. We're going to go through all the 2-0 and 0-2 teams. Tell you what's real, what's not, who we buying, who we selling. We've got the NFL news we got to go through. There's injuries, there's updates, there's backup quarterbacks. We're going to go through the whole thing.
Backup quarterbacks everywhere. Love it.
We already have a backup quarterback matchup, which is
Beautiful.
Which is something.
Yeah. And we've got new wall-worthy NFL insiders on our memberships. I just had to add multiple names to the wall over there right before we went live.
You're getting writer's cramp now, adding everybody to the wall.
I don't think it's that much, but yeah, get it done.
Appreciate the new insiders, including the power commenter Mohal, who's joined as well. He's on there and sent us an email. He would refuse to reveal his real identity, so I've decided I'm going to make up what his identity is. Like I'd like to think he's just a random NFL GM or
an NFL GM.
Yeah, he's like Bill Parcells in disguise. He's somebody prominent. In disguise.
Okay.
So we'll just play that.
Unlikely, but sure.
We'll just play that up. What else do we have at the top?
I don't know.
Anything else? All right. So we're gonna get to Shouty Shows first. Us against the Shouty Shows, but we're starting with us against a couple press conferences here. Some press conference clips here. Let's start with that.
Is this starting to get a little frustrating? I mean, you're getting.
No, it's week 2. Come on now. Come on, Rodgers. Come on. It's week 2. I mean, it's good for us. Last week, probably there were some people who were feeling pretty good because everybody outside the building is talking about how great we were on offense and 34 points. That's the league. You can't ride the highs or ride the lows. You gotta refocus every single week and be a professional. And it starts with the practice and the preparation. So we just get a chance to reset, take a look at what we did last week, what worked, what didn't work from the preparation standpoint, do better next week.
Aaron Rodgers refusing to overreact to the loss.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with Rodgers on this one. It's kind of an over-the-top question. Is this starting to get frustrating? It's like, dude, it's one rough game.
One game. Yeah.
Last week was good. What are we... Is it starting to get frustrating? That kind of suggests we've been through 8 weeks of this grind. You know what I mean?
Did you hear the Brian Kelly press conference, LSU?
No, I hope I try and avoid listening to Brian Kelly as much as possible.
They won 20-10.
Though it is funny when he adopts accents that he doesn't possess.
Yeah,
and I say this as somebody that adopts accents, wherever I live.
Yeah, but you weren't doing it to
I don't do it overnight.
You weren't like when in Rome.
Yeah. It takes several years to get done, and it's not conscious.
Let's drop a Louisiana accent now.
Right.
From the Bayou. They won 20-10 against my Gators.
Yeah.
5 interceptions against DJ Lagway.
That's not great.
But Garrett Nussmeier on the other side, he had an awful pick, maybe 2. At least one awful interception. The offense didn't do much for LSU. So the first question was about the offense. He's like, what do you want to say about the offense not performing well? And Brian, he was upset. He's like, we just won the game. We played to win the game. He was dropping some Herm Edwards, which we have more play to win the game philosophizing coming up here. So yeah, we agree with Rodgers. I mean, don't overreact.
Yeah.
Wait till week 8 to ask if he's frustrated from struggling.
Let's ask reasonable questions in the press conferences,
Steelers' offense has had one good game, one bad game.
We're all out here where everyone's waiting to pounce on something that's said, by the guy at the booth. But if you're going to ask him a question like an asshole, do your part.
Media. It's the media. All right, we have philosophizing, as I've said. Let's hear from Mike McDaniel.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game.
True.
Honestly, and that is how you lose the game. You're moving the ball down the field. You're 1st and 10, and then you find yourself at 2nd and 20. That was critical.
Yeah, not winning the game was critical and losing the game. I will say, so Rex Ryan hates Mike McDaniel. You know what I mean? I think just on spec. You know what I mean? He's intelligent. I don't like that kind of thing. Just a visceral, intrinsic reaction somehow. So he's been ripping him for a long time now. You know, the guy's a nerd. Everyone hates him. Nobody's got any respect for him inside the building. Needless to say, I think that's an overreaction. I do think, however, that Mike McDaniel's shtick will wear thin when things aren't going well. You know what I mean? Like the way he goes about things, he's got a bit of that Bill Belichickian, attitude where it's like it can come across kind of asshole-like sometimes, and that's fine when you're winning games and, or you're a boy genius and the offense is great, everything's cooking, and you can keep doing that. But when vibes are bad, I feel like that's a negative influence with the vibes, I feel like it's like a catalyst. It's going to pour gas on the bad vibes, where if you were willing to tolerate it before, now you're like, well, this is just annoying now. You know what I mean?
That's the problem, being in the spotlight like that. When, everything about your job, obviously, you to win games, you have to win games, as Mike said.
Exactly.
And if you're not winning games,
it's all conditioned on how the situation is right now.
It's not 2021 anymore. When Mike McDaniel's out there being thrown out to press conferences, everything's great. The offense is good. He's dropping rap lyrics and jokes, and he's all sarcastic and everything. Yeah. Look at this guy. He's great. And then in 2022, look at this. The Dolphins offense. He's fixed Tua. It's great. Now it's you can't win games
without winning them.
Without winning them. You got to win to win. And when you lose, you've probably lost.
Yeah.
My thought on it.
I mean, obviously it's gibberish, but I feel like the more important thing is, I think his general shtick is, if not wearing thin already, going to be wearing thin pretty quickly.
We're going to talk a little bit of Tom Brady later. You made a very good point on Twitter the other day when Tom Brady did his little, believe it or not, follow Sam Monson somewhere on Twitter. You mentioned Tom Brady's at his best in more of a long-form setting.
Yeah.
Not so much.
He did 5 minutes on Cowherd, where the first 30 seconds was kind of nothing. But then once he gets going, it's like, all right, now this is good.
Talk about QB development. But he made a point in there that I thought was interesting and that I hadn't really thought of when they talk about the coaches are like the PE coach, like the phys ed teacher that just happened to, do football or whatever. They're not really, because we talk a lot about, hey, I don't know who the next head coach is. They have to be a CEO. They need to be this or that. And Brady's like, hey, these guys aren't businessmen. They're not CEOs. Some of them obviously adopt those qualities along the way. But it wasn't really disparaging the way he said it, but it was kind of like, they're not always the smartest guys in the world. They're just really good football guys. So you're trying to understand, respect that, right? And understand it and say, hey, they're not all great at developing, and which is true. It was just interesting the way he said it to me. It was interesting to me the way he said it.
I think, look, if Brady, they need. I mean, look, they don't care. So it's like they're paying Brady $37 million a year, whatever it is, not because Brady's good at anything, but because he's Tom Brady. Like, the fact that he's good or bad at his job is completely irrelevant from the economics to what Fox is actually doing. If you wanted to get the best version of Tom Brady for some form of televisual content, you wouldn't be putting him in the booth. You would be finding some kind of show where he gets to sit there and long form talk about whatever's on his mind that day. And once you get a minute or so into whatever his answer is, then you're going to get some intriguing, actual insight into what Tom Brady thinks, which I think can be pretty good. You're not getting it from the booth. Like, you're basically wasting everybody's time putting him out there.
By the way, Belichick was the same. When he did media, when he sat down and you got deep dive
when
analysis
you got the tape, when you got
Belichick.
Brady waxing lyrical about Ed Reed, that's the best stuff you ever saw.
Yeah.
Like, that's Tom Brady talking about quarterback development as a guy who had a weird path to being the greatest of all time is one of the more interesting, meandering, journeys through a person's brain you're going to get. And you don't get any of that in the booth. You're not going to get it in a studio show either, where it's like Tom Brady and four other chumps talking about whatever. Like, it needs to be something. It needs to be a Brady vehicle, the way the Cowherd interview was, just writ large.
Podcast setting. Like, we should have Tom as a weekly guest on the podcast.
Exactly.
Probably.
We should. I mean, we've got a third chair.
Tom, join Check the Mic once a week. We'll give you the platform. All right. I know if you want to just get in front of people,
you could fly out here every week.
Yeah.
We got the third chair.
We could probably throw it. We could throw it on our budget. Fly him.
No. I mean, he's got enough money. He's getting paid $37 million a year by Fox. He can fly. He can pay for his own plane.
He's going through a divorce a couple years ago, though. I don't know. Maybe
she's had money.
Anyway,
I don't think he's hurting financially. That's what I'm saying.
We'll talk more about Tom Brady and the controversy or the controversy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Sure.
later on the show. It's time to dial up the Shouty Shows, though.
I've thought about it very deeply.
I liked how he started it with, I've thought about this long and hard.
I trust the backup quarterback more than I do Dak.
This is why Skip Bayless is the master of the Shouty Show segment.
I can't do it anymore. It is year 6.
It's just a never-ending arms race of idiocy between loud, obnoxious people. We are the antidote to that.
All right, it's Shouty Show time. I love it. I still love that intro. A little throwback to everything we've done. Let's start with a statement. Oh, this will be good. A statement on the Chiefs dynasty.
Wonder what it'll be.
Dynasty days of Kansas City, they're over. They can be good this year. Maybe have some very good Sundays. But I watched that game last night between the Eagles and the Chiefs. The 12 best players, 9 are probably Eagles. I mean, Patrick Mahomes and a good defense can win you some games. But I feel like Patrick Mahomes to the Chiefs offense is like the Apple store at the local mall. It's the only thing keeping the lights on. 3 straight games, Patrick Mahomes has led them in rushing. I mean, the good news for the Chiefs, the New York Giants are next. Worthy should be coming back, but this was predictable regression.
Predictable regression.
Predictable regression. Hey, as a connoisseur of metaphors,
Okay.
The Apple store at the mall, keeping the lights on. That's Mahomes. That's your thoughts.
As a metaphor, it's okay. I don't agree with it, but it works. It's not bad. I do think. I mean, look.
I have thoughts.
Yeah. Number one, this was the most predictable Monday morning take that was out there, to the point that we did predict it. I mean, we said it on the show. This is what Monday was going to be for all the Shouty shows. The Chiefs dynasty is dead. It's all done. It's over. I mean, he said it himself. They're getting Xavier Worthy back. They're getting Rashee Rice back. Those are their 2 top receivers are missing currently. So, of course, this doesn't look particularly good right now. Also, in 2 of those 3 games he's talking about, one of them was in the Super Bowl, and the another one was against the team from the Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl rematch. So 2 of the 3 games he's talking about are against literally the best team in the NFL. Of course, this doesn't look great right now. The other one, by the way, is against another team that looks dominant. So I think it's time to breathe a little bit. Right now, Kansas City doesn't look particularly good. As he said, the New York Giants are up next. If it looks exactly the same against the Giants and they lose that game by 1 score, now we can have a conversation.
Yeah,
up until that point, let's go easy.
If they fall to 0-3, I mean, first off, what is...
But like 2 of the next 3 games are Giants and Jags. If they win those 2 games, even if they lose to Baltimore, they're 2-3. Okay, at 2-3 and presumably about to get somebody, back of consequence, whether it's Worthy, Rice, or both, right? I mean, that's not crisis talk. We know that Kansas City is prepared to an extent, bumble their way through the regular season knowing that they can step it up a bit, and they're going to step it up when they get 2 of their more important players back. Like, we're not in crisis mode yet, is what I'm saying. We're certainly not in a mode where we write off the potential that they can win a Super Bowl again.
My response to most of the Shouty shows is generally, have we learned nothing?
Yeah, and the answer is no. We haven't.
Ever in our lives. Let's just go back through. And then secondly, what is the purpose of being the first one?
Antagonism.
To declare that
this is the thing.
dynasty's dead.
It's not about learning. They know better than this. This is why the Shouty shows frustrate, is because it's an act. They know that this is ridiculous. They know it's stupid to declare things absolutely after 1 or 2 weeks. But if there's no downside to them, because either they're right and they get to crow about it later on and see, I was first, I told you, or they were wrong and they get to have the exact opposite stupid take 3 weeks later, and it's more gold.
Then you become Chiefs fodder a few weeks later. You become part of the montage. There's still montages of people saying Tom Brady's fallen off a cliff, Tom Brady this, Tom Brady that, and then 3 Super Bowls after that. You're a part of a montage for history. You are a historic old takes exposed. That's what I'm saying about not learning anything. The number of times that people declared the Patriots dynasty dead.
Yeah,
including in 2014
when they was dead for a period of time. Like they had a pretty lean stretch in the middle of 2 Effectively, it was two dynasties that had a very good team in the middle.
But it was lean in actual Super Bowl wins. But they were one of the best.
That's how they judge these things.
But they were one of the best teams in the league every single year. They were
never. The Bills aren't a dynasty.
They were never out of it.
No, but the Bills right now aren't a dynasty. Like they had
fair.
The Patriots effectively had two dynasties, and sandwiched in the middle was the Buffalo Bills from the last few years.
So everyone did this to the Patriots. Everyone did this to Nick Saban in Alabama because the standard for them was to go undefeated. So they lose a game almost every year. It's like, this is it. This is it for Saban.
Look how much worse it can get.
The other one that always stood out to me, and when I was a pitching coach, I used to use this example to encourage my pitchers if they had a bad game or whatever. There was an article on Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer of all time, who every season would have one or two bad games in April, like early in the season. And there was always some kind of article declaring Mariano's lost it. And I forget who it was, but someone pulled together an article. It was like 12 years of declaring Mariano's done. Every year. Yeah. It was like 05, 06, 07, whatever the years were. I don't know. 98 through 10, well, I forget how long he played, when it was. So they did this every year on Mariano Rivera. He never dropped off until he retired. Why do we have to do this?
If you want to be rational about it, like that's the Tom Brady thing at least made sense because there was a period of time, like Tom Brady played almost 10 years longer than you're supposed to play as a quarterback, right? So that means for almost a decade, it made sense for people to be looking for the beginning of the end, right? Mahomes is not in that. Like Mahomes is in his peak, theoretically. He's not at the point where you're like, any bad moment, you're like, it's time, it's over. So we're doing this like institutionally. We're looking at the team now and being like, it's done. There's no way. And
for you to say that the dynasty's over, because like just put yourself into the future for a minute. Let's say the Chiefs win 10 games this year, just 10, off year for them. They go 10-7.
Let's say they make in any capacity make the playoffs. You're saying Mahomes cannot go on a run with whatever team is around him at that point.
Let's say they go 10-7 and have an unprecedented. They lose in the first round. Right? Never done that before. Next year, they only win 11 games, lose in the second round.
Right. They can't rebuild in the space of 3 years.
You're telling me within the next 3 years, they can't add a couple more players?
So there's multiple things. Yeah, your scenario.
And go on a Super Bowl run with a 33-year-old Mahomes? Right. You're telling me the next 5 years, there's no Super Bowls in the Chiefs' future here because they just lost 2 games?
Your scenario is absurd, generally, right? Like, not you saying it, but the idea that people believe that. Like, even if the Chiefs are average at best over the next couple of years, the idea that the Kansas City Chiefs with Mahomes and Andy Reid there already could not rebuild from that point and get back to being an elite team. Like we've seen other teams go from awful to elite in a couple of years. The idea that the Chiefs can't go from like pretty good to elite with one of the best quarterbacks of all time is nuts. And then, the other part, though, that's ridiculous is imagine the idea that they are average this year, but they sneak into the playoffs with a 10-win wildcard team, is they're the 7 seed, right? You are telling me right now that it is completely inconceivable that with an average football team around him, Patrick Mahomes could not catch fire and have the greatest run of his career for 3 or 4 games and beat all those teams and go to a Super Bowl again. You're telling me that's completely impossible right now. With everything we know about Mahomes and everything we've seen from his playoff career, you're telling me there is no possible scenario where he could take a reasonably good football team, like go on the Kirk Cousins run that never happened, right?
That doesn't make sense to anyone. But the 2023 team kind of did that, right? We were writing off the Chiefs. The receivers were awful. They became a defensive-minded team. They had the number 3 seed. They went on the road to Buffalo and Baltimore, and they still won it. A couple of the Patriots Super Bowls, 2014, everybody wrote them off, right? In the 2014 season, after the Monday night debacle against Kansas City. Well, they won the Super Bowl that year. 2018, the Patriots looked awful at the end of the year. They went on that run, won in Kansas City in the AFC Championship to go win the Super Bowl. And then in 2020, Brady threw a pick 6 in the first game. Everybody's like, he's old, he's done. He's done. They had some bad games. They started like 7-5, and they went and won the Super Bowl. Have we learned nothing ever in life?
I mean, again, it's not.
Come on, Colin.
It's deliberately ridiculous.
All right. What's next?
I remember vividly in the first game of Jawan Taylor's career as a Chief, Thursday Night Football, standalone national TV, Chris Collinsworth was like, this guy jumps too often. And the whole world saw it and the whole league saw it. Well, thanks to the great Tom Brady and the great Dean Blandino, who I got to see briefly in Kansas City. They shined a spotlight on what all of us have known for 4 years. Not only is the tush push an ugly play, they jump on it every damn time. We'll show.
That's an
when they don't jump on it, it's not quite as effective. And when they do jump on it, it's unstoppable. And yesterday's game will be known as the day the tush push died.
Wow. I wonder if they'll make a song about it.
They'll definitely have a song about it.
I think that might be true, actually. I think there's a pretty good chance that game will be the start of the beginning of the end, and the tush push gets banned this offseason.
There's more talk about, you talked about, like, officiating it correctly.
Yes. So, look,
what's happening with it?
The whole conversation again. Like, they tried to ban it last offseason. They didn't succeed. They didn't have the votes, so here it is again. Now I think what you're seeing is, look, whatever about whether the play should stand or not, the Eagles are definitely pushing the boundaries of the laws in a couple of different ways, in addition to the play itself being kind of, I use the term unstoppable. Obviously, it has been stopped, but if you have a yard to get, certainly if you've got more than one down to do it, you're probably not stopping that play. But they are jumping. They are false starting regularly. Like, it's close, and obviously in super slow-mo, it looks obvious. Live speed, it looks a little bit less obvious, but it's not that. It's catchable, right? And they're lining up offsides. Like, they're cheating how far forward into the neutral zone you're allowed to be. So if you called it correctly, a lot of this would be a very different story. If you just crack down, did the point of emphasis thing, right? We're going to really focus on this, like the Jawaan Taylor thing that he brought up. Like, we're going to point of emphasis. People have been doing that for years. It's just we decided to crack down on Jawaan Taylor because we decided, you know what? This guy is taking the piss. Everyone else, you're kind of pushing it, but he's really going too far. So you're the guy we're making an example of. You could, point of emphasis, crack down on this. But then we get back to the general conversation about the tush push, which is, should you ban the play, yes or no? I don't really care. I just want you to have a logical argument if you're deciding to ban it, right? If you want it banned, fine. There is one argument to ban it, and one argument only. And if you use anything else,
my argument.
If you use anything else, I'm immediately dismissing your opinion as invalid, right? If you're talking about player safety or speed of the game, all this sort of stuff, bullshit. Your opinion is irrelevant. It's stupid. That's why it didn't pass when you tried to bring it up that way. The argument is yours, which is you can push offensive players. You can't push defensive players. It's an imbalance rule. It's silly. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And generally, I don't want to see offensive players pushed. It's like not part of the sport. Like, you shouldn't be able to drag your teammate forward.
That's a perfectly reasonable take. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with it, but that's the only take. That's the only acceptable opinion.
But that's what they should bring to the committee. We don't need to see people pushed.
There's no evidence.
Health and safety. There's
no evidence that it's a health and safety problem. There's no evidence that it's a delay of the game problem. There's none of that. It doesn't. So when the Packers, whoever, puts this out as this is why we need a ban, you can't convince people because that's not a sensible argument. It doesn't hold scrutiny when you actually look at information and data. The other problem is, by the way, I think a lot of people, it's like, I just don't like the play. It's ugly. It's only going to be replaced by a regular quarterback sneak, right? The Eagles are not going to become, you ban the tush push. The Eagles are not tomorrow going to line up in like empty formation and run a jet sweep on 4th and 1. They're going to run a regular quarterback sneak, and Jalen Hurts can still bench 600 pounds, and they still have the best offensive line in the NFL. Their regular quarterback sneak is going to be 80% effective. So you're not removing an ugly play from the football lexicon. You might be slightly reducing the amount they run an ugly play, but you're not, this isn't disappearing.
I don't think they've been false starting this entire time, and we've just caught on to it.
It has been going for a while.
It's more about the alignment.
Yeah, the alignment stuff, but they have been going a bit early.
They're lined up almost even with the center.
Yeah, but again, it's like the Jawaan Taylor thing. It's incremental, right? Like you let him get away with the bang bang plays, right? And suddenly they start pushing it a bit and a bit and a bit. And now they're kind of really going for it.
The thing I would say, I think every team, I say this a lot, every team should have a full and effective QB sneak package.
Right.
Effective QB sneak package. Brady was great at it because there wasn't just, he knew how to do it. but he also read the defense. He could go either A gap. If both A gaps are taken, you can go B gap sneak. Allen does that sometimes. And then what New England always did is if they went like full bare front, meaning both guards and centers are covered, and the center is covered, you can go with a little wide zone play. So you run to the bubble where the hole is over the tackle. And so you had adjustments to that. The other thing you can do way back, this is a throwback, early Brady days actually. The formation you never see in today's NFL is an empty set but under center. Empty, under center, right? So there's nobody in the backfield, and you go under center. Brady used to sneak it for like 5 yards all the time. You could sneak one of those in where you're in empty, you come up, you go under center, and you just move, you just push forward. I feel like every team, and some teams do this pretty effectively, right? And then you have like a little fake sneak toss play. Whatever. You should have an entire QB sneak package for your fourth and short, and a good quarterback should be able to execute this. I think it's my baseball analogy here. I always thought it was inexcusable for a lefty pitcher to have a bad pickoff move. Okay, just know it.
I just think
it's time and effort. I think it's inexcusable for quarterbacks to not be good at QB sneaks.
Sure, but
they should work at it.
Yeah.
And get good at it, and then you won't have this problem.
But
one more thing. The short yardage stuff was the key in this game. The fact that the Chiefs have not run a QB sneak since 2019 when Mahomes got hurt. They're pretty good in short yardage, and they've got a good short yardage package, but it affects them. Like if there's a couple times a year, if Mahomes could just fall forward, a couple times a year, Big Ben never ran a sneak. If he could have just fallen forward, it's an easy pickup if you just put the time and effort in.
But this idea of, like, look at the number of times the Eagles run this where the push actually makes the difference between getting the yardage or not. Most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time the yardage is done, and then the push, just adds a bit of gravy on top.
It's the surge.
Yeah, and all of those things are going to remain true if you ban the push part and the Eagles just line up for a regular quarterback sneak the way teams used to, right? You are still going to be dealing with one of the strongest, most powerful quarterbacks in the game and the best offensive line in the game. Those two things together mean the Eagles are going to be one of the best quarterback sneak teams, regardless of whether or not Saquon Barkley is allowed push him from behind, right? So, again, if you want it banned, that's fine. But the logic for banning it is your logic, which is it's an imbalanced rule right now. You can push on offense. You cannot push on defense. That's unfair. If your reason for banning it is it's ugly, that's a stupid reason for banning it first and foremost. Secondly, you're not fixing that because they're just going to run a regular quarterback sneak, which is also ugly. Like, it's not a pretty play, the quarterback sneak. It's just, it might be, whatever. You're not fixing that, right? So that's my problem with this whole narrative. Nick might be right, and I think he might. Genuinely, I think that could be a thing, that they've highlighted this. It's now getting so messy from an officiating point of view, and the NFL's approach to that kind of thing is often, you know what, I just don't want this problem, right? I'm not going to fix it. I'm just going to get rid of it. So ban the play, therefore we don't have to worry about offsides and neutral zones and blah, blah, blah.
I would be interested to see if they do make some adjustments to alignment or whatever it might be. So, possible truth here from Nick Wright. Let's go one more. We got an old man one to finish things off here.
Has Micah Parsons turned the Packers into NFL's best team?
Yes, he has.
Nothing yet.
I give up, and I give it up to Micah Aaron Parsons, who is suddenly...
Is it over?
I don't know.
To NFL's best team.
Yes, he has. I give up, and I give it up to Micah Aaron Parsons, who has suddenly turned back into the baddest pass rusher on this planet.
Turned back into.
He has ignited that team and that town and that Packer nation to invincible early season heights, but invincible. Never seen anything quite like it before. He needed this. Maybe we in Dallas needed this because I'm tired. I got sick and tired over the last 3 years of having to file a missing Parsons report after those games because he was a missing person during so many big games over the last 3 years since his rookie year when he played like this as a rookie. He wrecked games as a rookie. The last 2 games that we've seen him play on big stages for the Green Bay Packers are an indictment of what he didn't do over the last 3 years in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, so first of all, very good pun. Ruined it slightly by having to explain it to people. That it's like when you have to explain your own joke, it's not as funny. Missing Parsons report was good. Having to then explain, it's because, his name is Micah Parsons, you see, and that sounds a little bit like Parsons. That's not so good. This is great because it's like it's basically claiming victory where defeat existed, It's like, well, you might think that Micah Parsons being dominant right now makes me look like an ass because a minute ago I was saying he's no kind of pass rusher at all and that Dallas is better off without him. But actually, this just shows how right I was because if he'd been playing like this in Dallas, they never would have traded him away and we'd have been good.
There would be no missing Parsons.
Right. There would be no missing Parsons, and instead we would be an elite football team. So this just reinforces how right I was.
It's really genius. Does he have his fastball back?
No.
Is he back?
No. Again, the old Skip Bayless would have just dropped missing Parsons report and moved on.
That's true. He's losing it.
Yeah. Now he's got to be.
See athletes lose a step, which makes sense. It's a physical game, but like, why would Skip lose a step?
Because the brain goes as well,
Oh, I see.
You don't think it does, but the brain. I mean, you and I, right? Like
I'm feeling it.
The recall, right? You hit your 40s and you send a request down to the files in the brain, and whereas it used to come back with the right thing, got it, sir. Here's your file.
I have a few missing files reports.
Well, either you have a missing file. The guy comes back on the phone. Is like, there's nothing here. I don't know what to tell you. I open up the filing cabinet. It's just nothing. It's just an empty drawer. Or it's like, is this what you're looking for? No. Well, sorry. Best we could do. Imagine. Skip's like 100 years old. What must his filing cabinet look like?
Were those his previous points on Micah Parsons? Like, we don't need him. Good riddance.
Oh yeah. We had. I think he was on the Shouty Show thing recently, where he was like, the man hasn't had
a missing file. That's what
I forget what his logic was, but it was like maybe
he didn't show up in the Packers playoff game
because he's actually had sacks, right? Didn't he have like double-digit sacks each year? But anyway, it was like there was one year where statistically it wasn't as good as his rookie year. So Skip was like, man's been missing for like 3 years. The
guy's been incredible this entire time.
Oh yeah, like he has a PFF pass rushing grade of 90 every single year of his career, whatever the overall sack number.
I don't think anyone's ever had that. Right from rookie season.
Yeah. Not a pass rushing one, no. Donald, I think, hit 90 overall, but it was run as well as pass.
Donald had like a quiet, very, very good
rookie
season and then was the best for the next 8 or whatever.
Right.
But Parsons was elite right off the bat.
Yeah.
As he was a hybrid linebacker. Like, he just stepped in as
and
well.
And that probably helped, to be fair.
May have. But they were using him on the edge early on as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying reducing your sample size as a rookie is probably beneficial to attaining a 90-plus PFF pass rushing grade.
Man, if the Packers lose, what happens? Told you so? Let's predict this ebb and flow.
Yeah. They're going to have one game where somebody runs for like 250 on them.
I told you.
Michael wasn't on the field at the time, right? He would have been, they're still using him in this like very heavy pass rushing only.
Could have used Kenny Clark.
Right. They're going to run for 250. Micah's not even going to be on the field at the time, and it's still going to be his fault.
Skip. Can't wait to watch how this unfolds for the rest of the season here. All right, FanDuel's getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/CTM to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpgo.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Today we're talking Thursday night football, Dolphins, Bills, and a prop bet for tomorrow night that you can find over on FanDuel, fanduel.com/CTM.
Okay.
Josh Allen's passing yards over under 233.5. 233.5 for Josh Allen.
Over. I would take 3,200 and a half. Like, whatever the over is, it's against Miami. a million.
The tricky one with this, though, is
they'll bench him and put in Mitch Trubisky.
Well, the 233 is it sounds like a low number, except when you're up 28-0
and running
because of the run game. This also
still hitting the over.
They're not. Miami's not great up front, and James Cook could run like crazy. And we've talked many times through the years about the Josh Allen game where he doesn't, or the Bills game where Josh Allen isn't the focal point.
Mm-hmm.
Plus in Buffalo, man, I don't know.
Still putting over.
I'm going to go under because everything else is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go under the 233.5. And if you have your take, you go check it out. Go to FanDuel and do it yourself. But 233.5. Feels like the type of game where they can win with him throwing for $150, like last week against the Jets.
I think he's just going to put up whatever he wants.
Just put up whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Let us
know in the
Dolphins chat.
Defense is a paper bag right now.
The chat is looking for chat's mostly going over.
They know.
Mostly going over here.
They know.
They do. All right, man. Let's go Wednesday update. That's how we're branding this show. That's how
we need like the old school 1950s, news report. Like
Can we get an update?
Like Morse code, telex, whatever it is.
Update
music. Black and white.
Yes.
Blah blah blah. And then we could have the Cincinnati Bugler, and we could convince PJ that we're press.
Oh, that's it. Yes.
Here's us on network television in 1962.
So we could go. So we could have just an intro that uses the 70s news update music with the picture of us from the Bugler.
Yeah.
Or we could do that, and maybe in addition to that, turn the whole segment into black and white.
We should
the whole thing is like a 70s update.
We could go black and white on the screen, and then we could each have a fedora off shot. We put the fedora on with the press ticket in it, and we're black and white, and it's perfect. And we can send that clip to PJ and be like, here we are on the TV.
You need a pin. Instead of or a sticker, instead of like the I voted, it's I'm a voter. I'm an AP voter. You need an AP voter pin.
There we go. Look, black and white. Perfect.
There we are.
So we get the fedora on that has press written in the side, written in the ticket, in the brim.
Yeah.
And then I can get a ticket. I can get a sticker that simply says AP.
This is the build-up to the Bengals are hosting Thursday Night Football. I think week 7, somewhere around there. This is the build-up. This is to get us in the door.
We got to build a case.
We do.
So that when we go back to PJ and they're like, hey,
you need a big pin that says AP voter.
I am not new media. I am not a blogger or a podcaster. I am Associated Press.
Yeah, the Associated Press.
No, just not the. It's like
you are
it's the opposite of the Ohio State. It's just I am Associated Press.
Okay, got it.
Look, here's my television skit. In black and white. I've been around for a long time.
Been around forever. Look how old we are.
Anyway.
Get us in with Jeff Hobson and Paul Daner and the crew. Vikings injuries. We had J.J. McCarthy injured after the game. High ankle sprain.
Yeah. Which, by the way, should at least throw into question his play during the game.
This was late. It happened late in the game.
It did. But he also, when he went out there and airmailed an interception right to a safety for no good reason, you're like, what the hell was JJ doing there? It's like the dude probably shouldn't have been playing at that point in the game. Like he went out there on a high ankle sprain and was trying to grit through it. And okay, whoever's fault that is kind of irrelevant, but at the very minimum, it almost certainly affected his play late.
Yeah, maybe. Carson Wentz is getting the start though against the Bengals. We have 2 quarterbacks injured. It is Jake Browning against Carson Wentz here.
Yeah.
No Joe Burrow, no J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings placed Aaron Jones on IR. Jordan Mason's looked pretty good through 2 weeks, though, running the ball.
Albeit not going anywhere fast. They haven't had a good ground game.
No, I know. I thought there was flashes against the Bears in week 1.
That tweet that I sent you from somebody called TK12 just said, flex this to 4 a.m., Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. You get it. I understand. I am, however, kind of intrigued by seeing Carson Wentz, at least for a game.
I am too.
They are, I think, getting
for
Christian Darrisaw back. Yeah. This is a 2 to 4 week injury for J.J. McCarthy. They're also doing that double week swing in Europe, Dublin, then London, or
Dublin's
vice versa.
First,
yeah.
Week 4.
So they're not going to, and then they have a bye week, right? So they're not going to probably see him until after the bye. Wentz is probably going to have a month to show one way or the other what that's going to look like. Either, it could be in the middle, but for the sake of entertainment. In the extremes, we're either going to be coming out of this month being like, Carson Wentz looks amazing. You can't sit him down for this guy, McCarthy, who's played 7 good minutes of football ever. Not a chance, right? Or Carson Wentz is going to have already played his way to the bench at that point. You know, they're going to have put the other kid, what's his name? The Minnesota kid? Don't they have what's his name?
Max Brosmer.
Yeah. He's already going to have seen football time at this point, and you're going to be like pining for the return of J.J. McCarthy. But I do think having Darrisaw back out there is like legitimately game-changing. You know, you go from a top 5 left tackle to a non-viable starter back to, you know, one way or the other when you're putting Darrisaw out there or not. That's completely game-changing for this offense. I would be slightly more excited if Carson Wentz skewed a little bit more in the sort of get the ball out fast, efficient type of quarterback, because I think, you know, McCarthy's been holding onto the ball for an age. He's been processing slowly. Like, these are kind of traits of Carson Wentz as well. Now, he's probably better at it than McCarthy at this point, just from experience, and who knows what kind of magic Kevin O'Connell can weave on that, but I'm at least interested. For a week, I'm willing to give this a shot and see what it looks like.
Carson Wentz will become the first quarterback in NFL history to play with 6 teams, start a game for 6 teams in 6 years.
Nice.
Philadelphia Eagles, of course. Then he was the starter for the Colts in 2021. Starter for were they the Commanders at the time in 2022? The Washington football team or the Commanders in 22. Rams in 23, he had 1 start, and then 1 start last year for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
In the last week of the season. I mean, it's not wild to say that Carson Wentz right now is probably better than J.J. McCarthy.
No, in fact, I think it's probable.
Right. It's more probable than not, just because we still don't really know enough about J.J. McCarthy, and it hasn't looked great yet. And now we have this history of Kevin O'Connell elevating veterans from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold. There was a few weeks of Josh Dobbs before that fell apart. But if we're talking about a few-week sample here for Wentz, I still think it's in the long-term best interest of the Vikings to play J.J. McCarthy. But you can get a good few weeks out of Carson Wentz here.
You can. I think it becomes a very interesting conversation if Wentz looks good. And it's unfortunate, or sort of, it's good. Like, if Darrisaw is that big of a variable, and Darrisaw's back at the same time as Carson Wentz comes in, Wentz looks good, you know, it muddies the water. Like, there's always confounding variables. We say that all the time. But I think that becomes a very difficult conversation now. If Carson Wentz looks good, this offense suddenly sparks to life and looks more like it did last year, and everything's cooking, and the defense, you know, remains amazing. Like, immediately the Vikings go from being, this is problematic, to one of the better teams in the NFL again. Can you sit him down at that point just because the guy who's effectively a rookie and you don't really know anything about
it's the Sam Darnold discussion again, but
except in season.
But it's in season.
And but the difference being, you know, you have them already. Like, you're literally they're both there already. You just have to decide which one to start. The Viking, there's no money difference, you know what I mean? Whereas the offseason was difficult because it was a financial commitment to Darnold if you wanted to go that direction. This time, you've got both of them already. The only question is, like, can you risk the season putting in the young kid, or does sitting him down for a year because, like, in the pursuit of being good this year, do you any long-term harm? And that, I think, is a more interesting conversation because, look, the problem that Minnesota is dealing with here is they have barely seen J.J. McCarthy in any capacity, right? He hasn't played that much in college, so you were already dealing with a very small sample size of play. He had one offseason program, which is the sort of rookie truncated one, and then got hurt and missed the entire year. They didn't get him back throwing again until like January, so they haven't seen him practice much until the next offseason thing. And as much as you can watch a guy in practice and see if he has a command of the offense and blah, 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 it's very different to the real game, though, because in practice, when a guy sacks the quarterback, you know, there's a sort of fuzzy period where it's like, he kind of got there.
Got close enough.
He got close enough, but we give you half a second, and that half a second is when he got the pass away, and we'll call that good, right? But in the NFL, in a regular season game, that half second is the half second that Trey Hendrickson is tossing you face first into the floor, right? Like, not only did you not get the pass away, but actually it's a massive negative. You fumble the ball away, it's a fumble 6, and you're 7 points down. Like, that's the half-second difference we're talking about here. In practice, it can look like a good play by the quarterback. In real-world conditions, It's a terrible play. So that's the world McCarthy is living in right now with one of the highest average time to throws in the NFL. He's living in that fuzzy period between problem and utter disaster. And so I don't think the Vikings have any idea what he is yet.
No, I think that's fair. And they won't. We'll see what happens with Wentz, and then, they'll have a decision to make. Potentially. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of intrigued by Wentz. But
by the way, so if they decide Carson Wentz is playing really well right now, suddenly we're a good football team, it's Wentz's thing to the end of the year, right? We're gonna keep the hot hand, or at least until he plays his way to the bench again. It's not the worst thing in the world for J.J. McCarthy, I don't think, to just go sit on the bench. We'll give you practice. I mean, they should do what the Drake May thing.
30% of the reps.
Right? Like, you've been benched, unlucky, right?
Yeah.
However, we are going to keep giving you reps in practice because you are still the future. There's basically nothing Carson can do to win this job long term. 2026, you will be the week 1 starting quarterback again. Learn from this. Take this opportunity to develop. There's probably a lot of benefit to actually using legitimate practice time to figure out, is he good or not?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And even, like, he was the youngest week 1 starter in the NFL this year, 22 years old. So next year, he's still going to be one of the youngest starters if he's the week 1 starter next year. Like, he's not, you know what I mean? We're not at the point where, like, it's time to give up on him already.
No, we think too much in a binary world sometimes where it's like he's either the starter or he's not. And if you bench him, he's done forever. And we talked about this with Bryce Young and with Anthony Richardson. And sometimes it's true. Yeah, maybe he is done forever. Other times, maybe not.
Obviously, it would be a setback, but I don't think it would necessarily be like this has to be the end of McCarthy.
Kwesi's very analytical, too, from a general manager perspective. Just from an analytical sense, it's like, well, yeah, J.J. McCarthy, we will have him next year and the year after, and he's under contract, and he's still cheap. He might be our best option in 2026, but maybe he's not right now while Carson Wentz is here. So we just have to make the best decision for right now. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll see what happens this week. Vikings and Bengals. Other quarterback injury here, Jayden Daniels. I believe Dan Quinn, head coach, said he is legitimately day-to-day. Not just day-to-day. He's like, coaches throw this out all the time. Yeah, he's day-to-day. He was like, legitimately day-to-day. Like, we're going to wake up tomorrow. Could be good, might not be.
Which shows you just how ridiculous the general baseline for day-to-day as a comment is. Like, day-to-day, most of the time, doesn't mean day-to-day. Now it really does.
I mean, legit. Like, we don't know day-to-day.
Right.
We'll see. So Jayden Daniels, I believe the most recent report is, hey, maybe they give Marcus Mariota a start and give Jayden Daniels the 2 weeks here to recover for Washington. Mariota had, 1 spot start last year? Or was it 2? But they're playing the Raiders this week at home. And so we might see Marcus Mariota running that Commanders offense.
Yeah, I'm torn on that as either, on the one hand, it's a good defense for Marcus Mariota to have to play, because it's not a good one. So if you can figure out a way of getting Max Crosby blocked, Marcus Mariota could have some success there. On the other hand, for those exact same reasons, it's a pretty good get-right spot for Jayden Daniels in the offense, and he might not have to be Superman, and, you could be relatively limited with a knee injury and still look pretty good. So, yeah, I'm not sure which way you would want to go on that.
Mariota had 1 spot start last year. That was it. It was after the Chicago Hail Mary game, I believe. Had a really good game against Carolina's defense, so he did step in.
Same idea.
Not so good defense there, Marcus Mariota. He's a reasonable backup. I mean, we're at this world. I think the backup, I keep saying, like, there's a lot of starting caliber quarterbacks in today's NFL, maybe more than ever. Mariota, Wentz, you could call them fringe starters, and they were just a couple years ago, top 32-ish type of quarterbacks in the world. It's a Jameis Winston, I still believe, is. There's a lot of players who, if they were starting for a long period of time, and I'm not saying you win in 10 games, but you're like, yeah, this guy's a bottom 5 starter in the NFL. You're not saying this guy's the worst player you've ever seen. And so there's a lot of reasonable backup spot starters here. We've got a couple other things. Cowboys. They signed Tyler Smith, their guard, to the highest paid contract in NFL history for an interior offensive lineman. And they've also signed Jadeveon Clowney. And I just see, which I think is a good move. I encourage every team to sign Jadeveon Clowney, especially if he's going to be a part of your 3 or 4 edge rush rotation, which I think it makes sense for Dallas. Now I see Jerry right now. Jerry's like, man, look at this. We just paid Tyler Smith. We're spreading the money around to all these players that we didn't have to give to Micah. We're signing Jadeveon Clowney. We're moneyballing it, as they say, right? We're in the aggregate building up to Micah Parsons here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think particularly successfully, but
he saw the movie. He knows what they did.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. I'm not sure he fully understands what they did, but he definitely saw it and might take a shot at approximating it himself. The Tyler Smith, like Dallas does this every now and again, where they do something and they're getting all kinds of crap for it, so they go hard in the opposite direction and do something different. Like you say we're cheap. Watch this. They go pay some random guy a huge ton of money. Oh look, Tyler Smith's a really, really good guard and deserves the extension.
He's good. They signed Deron Bland. Yeah. Like they've thrown a lot of money at keeping guys in house, and I'm not trying to dismiss that. Like that is probably a good move to get all those guys under contract.
Tyler Smith is one of the most successful draft picks they've made in the last number of years. I mean, this was a guy, that wasn't celebrated necessarily as a draft pick. He was seen as a very raw offensive tackle prospect. They draft him, they kick him inside to guard, which itself is an interesting decision, and he becomes one of the best guards in football. So, yeah, it's a really good deal for him, and he absolutely deserves it. It's a bit random to do it now when you went through the whole Micah Parsons furore.
A couple other news and notes around the league. Jaylon Johnson, Bears cornerback, he's out for the season. He had missed, I don't know if it was all of training camp, but a majority of it at least. And then, missed the first 2 games of the season. I don't know how much they expected to get from him, but he's officially out for the year. And I think that's a huge blow for the Bears. He just, freshly signed a big contract, and they got Nahshon Wright starting in his place. I don't think Nahshon Wright's very good.
No, that's a big blow for Chicago's defense. I mean, that's going to be a problem spot all the way through the season now, unless they, figure out a trade from somewhere that nobody's expecting. But yeah, that's a big problem.
My apologies. He did play a little bit, right?
Yeah, he came back and then
that's what it was. He came back last week and then injured again. I mean, it's a huge blow for the Bears. And I think Nahshon Wright had a pick 6 in week 1, but he's got from training camp, what we've seen from him in the NFL, like that's a weakness for the Bears. And Jaylon Johnson's one of the league's best. So that's a tough one for them. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields is still in concussion protocol. I might see Tyrod Taylor potentially this week.
Yep.
For the Jets against the Bucs. Mm-hmm. The Browns are sticking with Joe Flacco, despite Dylan Gabriel.
It's too soon for Dylan.
Gabriel has 100% completion percentage.
Doesn't matter. You have to understand what they're doing in Cleveland. They need Joe Flacco to hang around long enough that they can go through both of the rookie quarterbacks without it's at the moment. If you put them in there now, right, assuming Dylan Gabriel is not amazing, right, which is I think a fairly reasonable assumption given where he was drafted. It's not impossible at all. He could absolutely
be amazing.
Yeah, he could absolutely be the next Russell Wilson. Who knows? But the general assumption would be he's probably not the guy and probably not amazing because he was a third-round quarterback. If that's the case, how many games have you got before frustrations mount and you have to turn it over to Shedeur Sanders and the circus that comes with that, right? If it's less than 6, you don't have enough time yet because you get 6 games with Gabriel and then you get 6 games with Shedeur, and now you're out of quarterbacks. And people are upset and mad at the end of the season. You have to string it out longer. You need at least a month of Joe Flacco before you can go to one of the rookies.
At least a month of Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And Flacco wasn't awful in week 1. He got some bad luck on some interceptions. But look, he's Flacco. He's trying to run for his life, run out of the pocket, looking like slow motion. He's Joe Flacco.
Yeah. Look, I firmly believe that
as you reminded him 6 years ago.
This was the plan all along, is that we're going to get a month, 6 weeks of Joe Flacco until it just becomes too untenable, and then you turn it over to Dylan Gabriel, and we're going to get, hopefully 6 weeks or something out of Dylan Gabriel before we go, look, this isn't working. We turn it over to Shedeur. We get 6 weeks of him. They win, 3 games, and then we go draft a real quarterback at the top of the draft. That's the plan.
All right, last thing. The Tom Brady controversy. A lot of discussion about him being in the booth on the headset on Monday Night Football for the Raiders, which, by the way, just to remind people, he doesn't do that every week because he's usually working.
Right.
But people asking about the conflict of interest, we've brought that up on the show many times here, as the Fox broadcaster who he had limited access last year to players and coaches in interviews. That has been eased, those rules.
Yes.
So there's some access there, but he's also a minority owner for the Raiders.
Yeah,
Limited partner for the Raiders.
There were all these rules that are there for owners so that, you can't just go and like watch somebody else's practice or whatever. Like, the same thing coaches can't do, right? There's a reason Spygate was a controversy because you can't do stuff like that. You can't just go and spy on an opposing team's practice, et cetera, and get all that information. You can't do that if you're an owner either. Now, Brady goes and sort of throws a wrench into the whole works by becoming a minority owner at the same time as being a journalist and a broadcaster, where those guys typically do get all that kind of access, right? Chris Collinsworth, Mike Tirico, they go watch practice as part of their weekly setup. And, so the league's like, what do we do now? Like, this guy should be doing all this, but he can't because the rules prevent him. So last year you had this farcical situation where Brady basically couldn't do 90% of his job and just had to go out there like sight unseen and just talk whatever. So this year they've gone, you know what, that's kind of silly. Let's ease the restrictions a little bit. Let's let him do some of this stuff. He still can't theoretically go see practice, etc. There's still a bunch of stuff he can't do, but it is a direct and pretty clear conflict of interest. Like, it was one thing when you could say, okay, he's a minority owner of the Raiders, but he's not really involved at all, right? He's just a minority owner. And every now and again, he'll go, a training camp and say, hey, I'm Tom Brady, rah, rah, and everybody's happy. But when you then see a picture of him sitting there in the booth with a headset on, it's like, that's pretty involved. Even if he's just listening in and offering nothing himself, it's quite direct involvement.
But that's what seems to have put people over the top, but I don't think that changes anything.
Oh, it 100% changes
It's either a conflict of interest or it's not. And if you think it was, then, yeah, like you could assume. Because the broadcast said, he talks to Chip Kelly 2 to 3 times a week. It's like, what? That was what people were responding to. He talks to Chip Kelly? It's like, yeah, he's allowed to talk to Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator. He's allowed to talk to people on the team. He's one of the owners. That, like, just because somebody said it doesn't mean that it changes the implications of whether or not it's a conflict of interest.
But it shows you very directly how it shows
Every report has already been out there that he's involved with the team.
Yeah, but this is all like it's basically direct evidence of people's worst fears. Like, what could happen? It's, if Brady does X, Y, and Z, this is where the conflict is. Now it's like, here's pictorial evidence. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Like, here's visual evidence of the conflict. Is like coming up. The Brady is going to be commenting. Is going to be doing the color commentary in the booth for the Cowboys and the Bears in week 3, right? The following week, the Bears are playing the Raiders. So it's like the guy's first job is literally teeing him up to help his second job, which is a competitive advantage. Like, it should not be allowed, and yet the NFL has just put themselves in this weird bind where they've kind of allowed it, and the rules don't apply to Tom Brady because we've decided that.
I mean, that's the only thing. I forget, what was the eased access that he has? He still doesn't have practice access, right? It's more being able to talk to coaches and coordinators.
He can talk to those guys. It's got to be via Zoom or remote or whatever, but it's still.
So now those guys also know, hey, we're playing the Raiders in 2 weeks. I'm not going to say much. I'm going to be pretty generic. So.
Right, which is just adding to the stupidity of the whole process. Like, he is, aside from anything else, I mean, again, Fox doesn't care because Fox is not employing Tom Brady because Tom Brady is good at anything. They're employing Tom Brady because his name is Tom Brady. So it doesn't matter to them that he's going to have less information than anybody else in that position because they know. Like Sean Payton, you think Sean Payton is going to tell him anything of consequence?
No.
Knowing that this is a competitive advantage? No, of course not. So you know that. And as that should annoy people as a matter of principle, right? Like, you are watching a broadcast, if you're watching a Fox broadcast with Tom Brady on it, knowing that he is less informed than any random Joe put in that position because of this whole, the rules don't apply to Tom Brady. That's just silly.
Yeah. There he is.
There's
in
Tom.
The booth. The one other thing we needed to mention, one other injury to mention, Calijah Kancey out for the season with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Torn pec for Kancey. I think that's a big blow for the Bucs with his ability to disrupt. The compliment that he brings to a guy like Vita Vea up front hurts their depth, and they don't have a whole lot of interior penetrators like that. You have rookie Elijah Roberts, who's kind of like an edge defensive tackle hybrid coming out of SMU. Very productive player, had a weird workout where he wasn't all that athletic, but he's a good player. But Kancey is a disruptive player for the Bucs.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And fortunately, that was one of those ones where it probably looked that way at the time. Number one, they identified pectoral injury immediately. That's usually a pretty bad sign. Watching him do it, like they had the replay of the injury, it looked pretty like that as well. So you put those two things together. That's the Jonathan Allen injury from last year, where admittedly it was termed season ending, and then he somehow came back in the season. But usually those are done for the year.
All right, man. We're going to get into.
Before we do that, let me pitch you something.
What else you got?
Marcus Mosher. I never remember how to say that guy's last name. He had a tweet that I think is kind of interesting. I want to pitch you this as a scenario. With Joe Burrow now being injured and probably done for at least the majority of the season, would the Bengals be more willing to trade Trey Hendrickson now? Given the offseason drama, they end up re-signing him to this sort of, we'll give you a little pay bump this year, but then next year you're probably free. Would they be more willing to trade him away now because of the Joe Burrow injury, where their season may be done already? You could get something for him now, of consequence, and your season, without impacting the season, because what the hell, it may be over already.
It depends on where their record ends up these next few weeks.
Before the deadline.
Yeah. They're 2-0.
Sure.
And we're going to be talking about the Bengals in a minute here. We can add that. Let's add that to our analysis here, Sam. So we're going to tell you about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates. So they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. So while you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started at Root.com. And today, we are providing roadside assistance to the Bengals. And that's where we can answer that question about Trey Hendrickson. The Bengals have an injured Joe Burrow. They're on to their backup quarterback, Jake Browning, for the second time in 3 years now. How do we help and give roadside assistance to the Bengals? We could start with that question. Are they more likely to think about the future now and taking Trey Hendrickson, who, by the way, remains the most effective pass rusher by far on that team? The number of games where you go back and look at whether it's whatever number you want to look at, pressure rate, win rate, PFF pass rush grade, use whatever number you want. The number of games where Trey Hendrickson is good, everyone else is blah. There's many of those for Cincinnati. Do you want to trade him? And think, if you're Cincinnati, even as a 2-0 team right now, do you want to start looking to the future?
I think this is one of those really difficult areas of self-evaluation. Like, they're 2-0. On the other hand, they've played crap in those two games. And somehow, if Joe Burrow is healthy, you would be, well, this is really encouraging. They've been playing badly the way they always do in the first couple of weeks of the season, but somehow they find a way to win those two games. That's great, because we know eventually Joe Burrow will figure it out, click into gear, and when that happens, the Bengals offense is as good as any in the NFL, and they can go on a run. Only they're 2 games better now than they would have been in previous years. Without Joe Burrow, though, now you're looking at it and going, yeah, they're 2-0, but they haven't played well yet, and they're unlikely to play much better with Jake Browning as the quarterback. So, are they, even though they're 2-0, is the season actually still alive and intact?
You could easily convince yourself, though. Jake Browning had some outstanding games in 2023.
And won games, yeah.
Oh, and won a lot of games. He had, the game I was citing the other day was against Jacksonville, his second start that year. 32 of 37 for 354. That was like, oh, wow, you can actually win with him. He had some bad ones in there as well, but the guy played pretty well. I don't think Cincinnati's going to be sellers yet. We'll see what happens with the schedule. As far as fixing things go, you made the astute point that Jake Browning's going to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker than Joe Burrow. It's not lightning quick. We're not talking about a 2.4, 2.5. That's quick in today's NFL, right? It's not necessarily that, but there's more plays where the ball's out of Jake Browning's hands, more than what we had with Burrow. and Burrow is inviting pressure. I think the pass blocking's been bad. Andy invites pressure.
Yeah.
So you might be able to protect the offensive line a little bit better. That's one way we could provide roadside assistance. We're getting that from Jake Browning, protecting the offensive line. And, of course, you have the 1-2 punch of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and pretty good receiver depth there right now. The Noah Fant addition, right? They've got some pass catchers there. So I think they can, run an effective offense there.
They can, yeah. I mean, we've seen that. Jake Browning, I think, has a winning record in his career as a starter. It's like 4-3 or something. And I think it's helpful that I think Jake Browning is acutely aware of the way he needs to play in order to be effective, right? Like, he knows he's not Joe Burrow. He knows he has to get rid of the ball quickly. He probably knows the offensive line is pretty bad as well. So everybody involved knows what this needs to look like. Browning needs to get rid of the ball fast. It needs to get into the hands of Jamar Chase as quickly as humanly possible. And the more you can do that, the better this football team is going to be. So, that's Zach Taylor's task for the next week or two, is to figure out how exactly to maximize the efficiency of that. Jake Browning knows he needs to work on that. Jamar Chase knows to be ready for that. I do think that this could be, the type of offense that does work for a while. Now, where it becomes interesting is first opportunity is against Flores' defense, which is confusing, right? So how does that work? How do you get rid of the ball quickly whilst being confused about what they're showing you, right? Can you just hit them with a bunch of hot routes quickly behind the blitz? Can you get rid of the ball fast with Flores? Like, generally, Flores' defense causes hesitation. It causes you to hold the ball a bit longer because you're trying to diagnose what you're looking at. They need to be able to figure that out, right? Can they just trust what they see and put the ball in the air? The next game is against the Broncos, and they have a very different type of defense, but equally challenging in terms of they're just very, very good. Can you do the same thing knowing that they're going to show you, a lot of man coverage and they're going to have a lot of pressure on you? Those are two very difficult defenses to get this working against.
The thing I think Browning needs to do a better job of, because we could talk about sack rates and pressure to sack ratios and getting rid of the ball quickly. He did have 7 picks in 7 or 8 games a few years ago. He just had 3 against Jacksonville. None of them were unlucky. They were bad. Late in the play, misreads of coverage. They were 3 bad interceptions in there from Browning. And they still won the game, by the way, which shows their ability to move the ball through the air. So, yeah, I think Browning's, my suggestion, take better care of the ball. He's got to take better care of the ball. He has to cut down on those turnovers, and then when you combine that with maybe we'll get a little bit lower sack rate, we won't have those negative plays, then I think the Bengals have a chance. So got to cut down on a couple of those negative plays per game.
Two things that also are tricky versus Flores and Denver defense.
Oh, yeah, nothing's easy. Nothing's but lose one bad decision per game, and I think the Bengals have a better chance with Burrow. I mean, with Browning. So that's roadside assistance for the Cincinnati Bengals, which we'll roll right into buying or selling 0-2 versus 2-0 teams. Let's start with the Bengals. Are you buying or selling their 2-0 start?
Selling, because, they haven't played well and they don't have a quarterback anymore in terms of a good quarterback. Jake Browning's, it's a good backup. It's not a good quarterback.
Yeah, I would sell as well. I don't feel like they're going to make an impact in the AFC. They could be another 9-8 team, though.
Yeah.
But I'm selling. I'm selling the 2-0 start for Cincinnati. Tough stretch here with the Vikings. We'll see what happens with Wentz. Vikings and Broncos the next couple weeks on the road.
Yeah.
A telling couple weeks here for the Bengals.
I mean, they could lose both those games easily, be 500 and not have played well yet this season, and suddenly the vibes are very different.
Buying or selling the Buffalo Bills at 2-0?
Buying. I mean, they were expected to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Yeah. They have beaten one of the best teams in the NFL already.
This is pretty much how much do you believe your priors?
Yeah, and stomped another one. They look good.
All right. Also buying the Buffalo Bills. How about the Colts? Buying or selling the 2-0 Indianapolis Colts?
I'm buying that. I think that offense looks good, not just, better than expected or passable. I think the offense is going to be very good. I think the defense is a little bit more, that might come back down to earth a bit over the course of the season. But, given what we've seen from the other teams in that division, like my pick of Indy to win that division, I'm kind of sticking with that for the moment.
Yeah, you'd be surprised to think I want to sit on the fence on this one. I'm buying the fact that they're 2-0 in the driver's seat in the AFC South and look like a viable AFC South contender. I'm selling the fact that they're an AFC contender. So I'm buying the fact that they're as good as they've shown. Or even that Daniel Jones will play this well and effectively in this offense. I guess I would say it's similar to the Giants' year of 22 when they won 10 or 11 games and Jones was the quarterback, and I thought there was a ceiling there. I think there'll be a ceiling here, as the season goes on here. We're also, just to be honest about everything here, I know there's multiple plays in every game that go both ways, but we are literally one leverage call away from they're just 1-1, right? And it's like, it's not everything's fixed, right? We're not doing ESPN breakdowns on how great Daniel Jones is playing because the Colts happen to be 1-1 instead of 2-0. So I'll sell the fact that they're going to the AFC title game or anything. But I don't. The fact that they're legit.
Yeah, I think given where expectations were, the bar for them is not the same place as it is for the Chiefs, or was for the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's reasonable. They're 2-0. I'm not saying they are an elite Super Bowl contender or anything, but they're 2-0. I think the idea that they could win that division and be a playoff team is very, very real.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting if...
And that seemed crazy when I said it on the show, and people were like, you're an idiot. This is the Texans division. And, it may still end up being.
Colts are one of those teams we said could go either way with that uncertainty around the quarterback position. But you might be in this world where 2 out of 3 years, Shane Steichen has gotten... We talk about Kevin O'Connell. He's gotten Gardner Minshew. He's gotten Daniel Jones. The only guy that they didn't win consistently with was Anthony Richardson, who kept getting hurt.
Was the guy they identified as the future.
And Joe Flacco, some ups and downs with him coming in, right? So not bad from Steichen if this continues. Philadelphia Eagles 2-0, buying it?
Yeah.
They
Enough said.
Win differently every week. Green Bay Packers 2-0. And are you buying or selling? They are now among the elites in the NFC.
I'm buying that. They're 2-0. They've looked great, and there are reasons to think they couldn't be better. They're not playing Micah Parsons on rundowns at all yet, and I don't believe the idea that he's just incapable against the run. Matthew Golden hasn't been a huge factor in the offense yet. Not to say he hasn't been playing well; he's been open quite a bit, but they haven't connected much with him yet. So there's an extra layer I think there to be had. Yeah, I mean, the offensive line had multiple shuffles. There are healthy players coming back. I think the Packers are good and they can be better.
They're down Jayden Reed. We forgot to mention him during the injury section as well.
Yeah.
Foot injury and shoulder, collarbone, was it?
Yeah.
Double surgery this week. So he's out for a period of time here. But, they're built for this.
Yeah.
They've built, a receiving core that's 5 deep, and Jordan Love's already playing well, spreads the ball around as it is. I think they can handle it. You lose that skill set, though, of Jayden Reed. We'll be interested about Savion Williams if they start to use him with some more of the trickeration and getting the ball into his hands, because Reed did a lot of the jet sweep stuff, and he had a different skill set from the other receivers. So that is something to keep an eye on for the Packers.
Yeah, I think they have a lot
buying, by the way.
I think they have a lot of crossover and redundancy though in that skill set. I mean, Matthew Golden could do a lot of the things that Jayden Reed does, even though he's a very different player. There's a lot of crossover in every one of those receivers, where if one of them goes down, 2 or 3 guys can pick up that slack. In terms of the role.
I'm buying the Packers because the thing that I felt like they were lacking, which was just high-end players to go with a whole bunch of solid players, all of a sudden Micah Parsons does change the equation there. Edge Cooper gets to take that next step forward. He looks like he's a potential all-pro linebacker, and they're just good all around. The way the defense is playing is outstanding. Can you keep it up? It's been 2 weeks. Either way, they look like they'll be one of the best defenses in the league.
This is also this is going to send the nerds back to the spreadsheets, rerunning the math. If this continues and Micah Parsons looks like a 1-for-1, hey, one non-quarterback player can make this kind of impact on a team. Now, obviously, there's always confounding variables, but the A-B analysis would be Micah Parsons plus a good, not great Green Bay Packers team equals Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's not, the math doesn't say that should happen.
I mean, it's like one Ray Lewis speech led to the Ravens winning a Super Bowl. You never know what those factors are going to be. All right, so there's 3 NFC West teams who are 2-0. And at the start of the season, the phrase we kept using was, of all the divisions, wouldn't be surprised if any of these teams won the division. 49ers, Cardinals, and Rams are all 2-0. By the way, my pick was the Seahawks. They're only 1-1.
Right. The one that hasn't won two games.
I still wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks won the division. So buying or selling the 49ers to start as a 2-0 team.
Okay, so what is we gave the Colts a kind of grading on a curve analysis. What are we doing with these teams?
Who's gonna win the West? Who would you choose to win the West?
The Rams are still my pick to win that division.
The Rams are way ahead of schedule. They were 1-5 last year?
Yeah.
I mean, these are the things we need to remind people early in the season every single year. The Rams looked done last year.
Now, Sean McVay's hurt. Man tore his plantar fasciitis. That's a long, lingering injury.
Wonder if that affects his recall.
I doubt it.
I also doubt it.
It probably affects his ability to hop up and down the sideline, though.
It makes the get-back coach's job a lot easier. Remember, there's an intense...
It's not nearly as feisty anymore.
Yeah, the get-back coach has a very difficult job.
Right.
Reining him in.
Yeah.
And you probably don't have that issue now.
No, McVay's, I mean, he's animated, he's explosive. You know, he's got some, like, he's a pain for a get-back coach to deal with. Yeah. Now he's hobbled. Just going to get in his general area and be like, I got you. You're not making it past me.
Let's move. He's not going to get his steps in nearly as much. So of those three, let's just knock them all out here. Niners, Cardinals,
I think the Rams
remain
a genuine Super Bowl potential team. They should easily win that division. If they win the division, Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, like there are reasons that team could go on a run and win the Super Bowl. So they're my favorite absolute contender. The 49ers have done really well to win 2 games on the road with all their injuries. That's setting them up in a great situation, and unlike the Bengals, their quarterback's probably coming back a lot quicker than that, and you could imagine a world where they come together and they've bought themselves some breathing space and the ability to be a contender when everybody gets back healthy. If they don't get healthy, I don't think they can be real contenders. If they get everyone back, they could be. They're not now, but I think they could be late in the season.
The Niners look good in the right spots, right? I wanted to see a little more feistiness from their defense. I think they have elements of that. And, yeah, a healthy 49ers team, they could be dangerous. I'll buy all of them, man. I'm in on all of them. But, yeah, I'd say the Rams most likely to win the division, and Seahawks are 1 game back.
They're 1 game back.
In last place. I would not be surprised if Seattle still pulls off the division.
Sure. What about the Cardinals then?
So the Cardinals are tricky because I buy into their 2-0 start because I thought they would be good. They're good in the right areas. I love the way their defense is playing. It's just come against the Saints and the Panthers.
Yeah.
I thought the Panthers would be a bit more competitive.
And neither one was
through 2 weeks.
Neither one was, emphatic. Like they didn't go out there and do what the Bills did.
It
to the
was
Jets.
against the Panthers, and they kind of let it back in. Honestly,
you can't say it's emphatic when it was like they were 1 drive away from losing that game.
Yeah, but it's like Kyler. It's a funky decision that lead to an interception in the red zone, and they lost an onside kick.
It never looked like the Bills versus the Jets. Where it's like this is an absolute.
It did for the first half.
This is belt to ass. This is an absolute whooping.
It did early on.
I mean, even then. I mean, the turnovers, yeah, but it didn't.
The turnovers were a big factor.
Yeah.
So I think the Cardinals are going to be good.
The Cardinals I throw into the bucket of the Colts, where it's like, yeah, they could win the division. I don't really see a world where they win a Super Bowl.
So it's a good point. I feel like the Niners, Rams, and Seahawks could all be more competitive in the playoffs. Do you feel that same way about the Cardinals?
Yeah, they could win the division, and yet they might be the 4th team in this division. If I was ranking Super Bowl odds, I might have given them the 4th longest odds to win the Super Bowl of this division, even if they win it.
I think we did something last year. It was like, which underachieving team do you have the most confidence in turning it around? And I think we were both emphatic about the 49ers last year.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
It didn't work, yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You never know. The twists and turns of the season. Which is
we can do the same thing this year, and it would be the same team. It would be we'd both be, I think, on the same team this year.
All right, 0-2 teams.
Yeah.
Buying or selling. Saints 0-2. Are they a legit 0-2?
Yeah. I mean, they're a bad football team, but they're better than I thought they were going to be.
Agreed. And Spencer Rattler's looked pretty reasonable through 2 weeks. I think I honestly wasn't sure how long he would even hold the job, but it looks like unless there's a disaster, it's him for a while, and you might not know what you got from Tyler Shuck.
I mean, Tyler Shuck's career might already be in jeopardy because they don't have enough committed in him that like they have to see what they have in him at any point, and they could be on to the next guy before Tyler Shuck ever gets the opportunity to win the job.
I would say just as interesting a story for the Saints. When we came into the year, we were listing all of these quarterbacks. We're like, which quarterback in college is going to make the big step forward and become the number 1 overall pick? By this time last year, we had similar questions, but you saw Cam Ward play, and you're like, Cam Ward could be the guy. And that eventually happened. This year's class of potential number 1 overall picks, including Arch Manning, by the way, who is now 150% guaranteed to be going back to Texas if he's not like run out of town. It's not going to be Arch Manning. I'm not sure Lenore Sellers is ready. I'm not sure Garrett Nussmeier's ready to be that guy. I'm not sure John Mateer, as great as he looks in college, is ready to be that guy. He looks great in college. I'm not sure he looks ready for the NFL.
He's the one guy whose stock is moving in the right direction.
It is. But all I'm saying is the Saints might be in this world where they were probably thinking about drafting a quarterback. There might not be even a viable candidate. And if Spencer Rattler keeps playing well, it's like, we're going to build around Spencer Rattler. and we're just going to build up the rest of the roster. I anticipate the Saints continuing to lose, I guess is the point.
Yeah. Again, I think they're much more competitive than I thought they would be. Spencer Rattler has looked pretty good relative to expectations, but they're still not a good football team, particularly on defense.
What a list of 0-2 teams, by the way. Saints, Bears, Giants, Titans, Browns, Dolphins, and then the Texans and Chiefs. Bears, buying or selling as an 0-2 team?
I'm buying it in that I don't think they're particularly good. The question for Chicago... So the Saints, I think we expect to be bad start to finish, right? They might win a game or 2 or 3 here or there, but they're probably a bad team. Chicago, the question I think is more interesting, which is they're pretty bad right now, but do they get better over the course of the year, or is this what it is until next year?
I mean, my priors on Chicago were that week 8, week 9, watch out. That's when they turn it around. So if I had to predict a team turning it around, I don't think the Bears are devoid of talent. I think losing Jaylon Johnson is a blow. That certainly hurts the secondary, because even cornerback 2 was a bit of a question with Tyreek Stevens, or the other side was a bit of a question.
They've lost. I mean, before that they had already lost Terrell Smith. They were already banged up at corner, and now they lost the one really good guy they had. I mean, that's a real problem spot now.
And when those add up, that's an issue. But O-line improvements, D-line improvements, they've got more talents there, that if they turn it around week 7 or 8, I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm going to sell the Bears are one of the worst teams in the league and say that they're going to end up closer to 500. Without even having their schedule memorized and knowing exactly what it looks like, I'm going to say they end up closer to 500.
I do wonder, though, if for the second year in a row, it's an offseason that looked better on paper than it's going to actually end up being. When they threw a lot of money at defensive linemen, for example, right? Grady Jarrett hasn't been the player. Grady Jarrett hasn't justified the money that they paid him for a couple of years now, right? And he's reaching that point where he's had a 10-year career. He's sort of getting towards when would be a natural ending point for some guys. If Grady Jarrett does not kick on and dominate, that wasn't necessarily an upgrade that they made. And yet it looked like a really, a significant one on paper. Just for a couple of years now, you look at their offseason every time. You're like, man, look at all these moves. These are great. Every one of these is an upgrade. And Keenan Allen last year didn't really move the needle at all for them.
And he is with the Chargers.
Yeah. And so maybe the problem isn't the guy themselves that they're bringing in. Maybe the problem is somewhere else. But the point is, it's not translating yet to the field.
Yeah, I guess my thing with the Bears moves, it felt like the aggregate there was good. I'm not a huge fan of Dayo Odeyingbo, Grady Jarrett at this point in his career. But when you add them both, it felt pretty good relative to what they had. I'm not a huge fan of Jonah Jackson at guard, but it was an upgrade. It should have been an upgrade. Drew Dahlman should have been an upgrade. That's where I'm at, and I think they'll play a little bit better than they have.
Okay.
Who's next? Giants. Buying or selling as an 0-2 team.
Again, this is the inverse of the Colts thing. I think they're better than being a very bad football team, but they're probably going to lose quite a lot of games. You know what I mean? They probably should have beaten Dallas.
Oh yeah, they definitely. I mean, they had many opportunities.
I think they're closer to a 500 football team than they are the number 1 overall pick.
I'm more concerned with my optimism around the Giants was less about wins and losses and more about being competitive week in, week out through their defense. And through 2 weeks, I thought their defense was okay against Washington. I mean, the points were, it was only 21, but I thought Washington pretty much had that game in hand from start to finish, even their offense. And then the Giants didn't make any key stop against Dallas.
Yeah.
And so I'm worried about the back seven. I thought that would be much improved, and I thought that the front had a chance to take over games. And I still believe that with all of the boys that they have up there, Carter and Thibodeau and Dexter and everybody, Burns. So there'll be games where that happens. So I'll sell them as one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, I'm surprised their back seven, the defensive backfield effectively, haven't made more plays. You know, Drew Phillips made some plays against Dallas, but like Paulson Adebo feels like the type of corner that is actually cut out for, like, if your front four is dominating, that guy can go and be aggressive and, you know, make some plays, and it hasn't happened yet.
That's
at all.
what's happening in Green Bay. Where, like, Keyshawn Nixon's like, hey, I know.
Yeah.
These they can't run a route beyond 10 to 15 yards here. I'm going to jump stuff, and the Giants should have that ability.
Yeah,
and we're not seeing that through 2 weeks. They're giving up over 30 points per game. I'll still sell them as one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Record-wise, it still could happen. I don't even know what to do with that. Chiefs are next. Buying or selling? Are they an 0-2 team?
I mean, selling. They haven't played well, but they're not one of the worst teams in the NFL.
So
even if the dynasty is over.
So use the inverse of the Colts discussion.
Like, what is the worst case scenario for the Chiefs this season? It's still way better than being one of the worst teams in the league.
And I just want to remind people, we're not dumb enough to do dynasties over takes, right? But in 2023, we were saying, hey, Chiefs they screwed this one up. They punted on receiver. Rashee Rice is the best receiver. He's a rookie. They have no one else. Kadarius Toney's blowing a game every 3 weeks here. It's not their year. It's not the Chiefs' year. They'll come back. They'll reload next year. They'll reload at receiver. They'll fix this mistake. This is in the middle to the end of the 2023 season, and then they went on their Super Bowl run. Last year they were winning. But it's not. Is it real? They're all one-possession games. So there were doubts about the Chiefs the last 2 years. The doubts now just happen to be in the first 2 weeks when, by the way, they're playing a very good Chargers team and the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. So that's a reason. Like, that's why they're 0-2. If these games were week 8 and 9 and they had a 2-game losing streak in the middle of the season, it wouldn't be like dynasty's over, you know?
I mean, even that. Like, if the Chargers end up being one of the best teams in the NFL, the Chiefs starting. Like, the start of their season has been against two of the best teams in football, conceivably. So if they simply played two other teams, they might have, like you said the other day, last year they were calibrated to win by 1 score, and this year they're calibrated to lose by 1 score. Like, it's just slipped. But that might be the difference between just playing Philadelphia and the Chargers and playing, you know, two other random teams, right? If they just had a different start to the schedule, they might look exactly like they did a year ago, where we spent – I forget when it was, like Christmas or whatever. Ryan Fitzpatrick is on TV being like, this cannot keep going. They can't possibly keep winning these games this way. They're not playing well.
Blocked field goal to win it. Botched snap to win it against the Raiders.
So, like, it's exactly the same performance as a year ago in terms of, like, this is not a team that's playing good football right now. But they won enough games. They got to, you know, the Super Bowl, and then they got their ass kicked. It might be exactly the same thing right now. It's just that their 2 games have come against the Eagles, who we know are elite, and the Chargers, who might be elite.
I'll just say this. For the 3rd straight year, I think the Chiefs are going to go into the playoffs. I think they'll get in. But for the 3rd straight year, it will feel like they should lose to the Ravens or the Bills, assuming health. Bills 2 years ago had ridiculous injuries. Ravens were ready to go, and they lost in the AFC Championship. Last year's Bills team, they looked ready to go. A couple injuries, but they had the early injury in that game that did affect them.
But also completely TBD what it looks like with Rashee Rice coming back, Xavier Worthy coming back.
That's it. I mean, things could completely change.
Like, even if they didn't get anybody back, if those 2 guys went on IR tomorrow and were like, sorry, actually they're not coming back at all this season, I would still expect the Chiefs to win 7 games minimum this season. So, like, they're not in the 0-2 conversation. Well, minimum. The absolute worst case scenario, if they don't get their top 2 receivers back,
I think they'll
is still 7+ games.
Like going 10-5 over the next 15 games. Like, that's not crazy for the Chiefs here. So, yeah, selling as an 0-2 team. Titans, 0-2. Tennessee Titans.
I mean, unfortunately, buying, I think. They're feisty. They'll be competitive. A bit like the Saints. They're feisty. They'll be competitive. They'll probably still lose most of their games.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the two halves against the Rams, they were winning at halftime against the Rams. They got smoked in the second half. I thought that coincided with Cam Ward and fellow rookies making some plays. And then in the second half, Cam Ward, again, it's just inconsistency in the pocket, being a rookie. And so I think they're going to struggle to win a lot of games. But they'll, similar to maybe the Bears, they'll give some hope in the second half. You're looking for hope even here.
I mean, I think there's been hope every week. It's just it's not enough to win the game.
Cleveland Browns, buying or selling as an 0-2 team?
Buying. They probably won't be very good this year because they just don't have, well, unless Dylan Gabriel turns out to be amazing and or Shedeur Sanders turns out to be amazing. They don't have the quarterback to be able to win the games.
Through 2 games, the Browns' defense
looks good.
I know the scoreboard said 41 for Baltimore the other day, but there was a fumble return for a touchdown. There was a short field on a blocked punt. It was a lot closer in the first half than it seems.
Yeah.
I can't remember where the stat was sent to me.
And it's the Ravens. I mean, they do that to elite teams. They did that to Buffalo.
But the Browns have a better success rate, I believe, in both games than their opponents. That's just the percentage of positive plays, whether offense or defense. The problem has been the impact plays, right? So EPA, I assume, is much lower because the Browns have all those interceptions, whether they're the quarterback's fault or not. They've got the blocked punt. They've got the fumble 6. I mean, they have all these things that have gone against them, these high leverage, big, high impact plays so far. But down to down, the Browns have been very competitive through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they're going to win a ton of games.
No.
And to your point, unless, one of the rookies comes in and is special.
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins, buying or selling as an 0-2 team?
Buying. I think this is on track to do exactly what we thought could happen, which is spiral out of control and blow up.
We spend a lot of time during preseason and training camp trying to say, let's describe what we're seeing in preseason, on our training camp tour, whatever it might be. Let's at least describe what we're seeing. And then very rarely do we go back and say, oh, we knew this or we didn't know this. So let's do that really quickly. The vibes around Miami and training camp were awful. They continue to be awful right now. That was one that happened in the preseason that carried into the season.
This is one where it's always like you always tend to go back and be like, well, this is obvious. We saw this all the time.
I'm going to give you the opposite of this in a minute.
Yeah, like I'm sure there's none spring to mind, but I'm sure there's a ton of scenarios where it's like everything about, like Dallas has had these seasons, right? Where it's like the vibes the entire offseason were bad, and yet they go out there and win 12 games and everything's okay. I'm sure there's a whole bunch every year where the vibes go one direction or the other. The Bears being the opposite. The vibes are all good. It's look at what we've done. The offseason's great. And then it's the same old Bears. But everything about Miami this entire offseason felt bad, including, actual football on-field stuff, right? Like training camp, I don't think was particularly good. The conversation, like the first thing Tua does coming back is basically say, Tyreek's got some work to do to get himself back in the good graces. Like, what are you doing? I mean, I understand that might be true. You probably shouldn't say it out loud in front of microphones. Joint practices, they got wrecked every time they played anybody else. Like everything felt bad. And then you get to the regular season, it's like, yeah, this is kind of what it looked like.
So that was one of those. It's very difficult sometimes to remember a month ago, mid-August, what we were believing, what we were thinking. Let me throw this one out for you. When you and I were at joint practice between the Colts and the Packers, did you know that we were watching the eventual Super Bowl matchup, Colts and Packers? It didn't feel like that when we were there, right?
No, it didn't. Well, that was Anthony Richardson still QB1 at that point.
Richardson was taking more first-team reps than Jones. They were splitting, but
not looking good doing it.
Yeah. Richardson was all over the place.
Yeah.
We said, hey, Colts pass catchers, boom, they look good. Great, get somebody to get them the ball, and they have. The Packers looked fine, but they didn't. Jordan Love wasn't even playing that day.
I mean, half the team wasn't playing. Like Jordan Love wasn't playing, Savion Williams wasn't playing. A couple other players were not dressed for that as well. The funny thing is, though, it also shows you how big a problem it is with the second team unit, because Daniel Jones looked like crap running with the second team offense as well, because the offensive line was terrible.
Right.
Like Daniel Jones, most of his plays were like dead on arrival because the second team offense couldn't block anybody. So it's like Daniel Jones right now is like MVP candidate, right? But with the second team offensive line, he can't function. It's like, this is how problematic it is trying to a quarterback battle in training camp. It's so dependent on who's getting the first team reps.
We also saw Bears-Bills the next day.
Yeah.
And the Bears got the better of the Bills.
Yes.
In those practices. And the Bears, I was describing the Bears offense as finding a lot of completions against the first team Bills defense. I thought the Bills defense looked like they were having some issues, which, by the way, they did in week 1 against the Ravens.
That was the more important. I mean, I hold less stock in the other side of the ball because it looked like Josh Allen was kind of goofing around that day. Like, I'm just going to see if I can make this throw. And it turns out I couldn't. Jaquan Brisker was there. The other side of the ball, though, like, they did look crisp. The other thing that was weird is that, I mean, not weird, but different. They had big involvements with the two rookies, right? With their tight end and with Luther Burden, neither of whom have been particularly big factors so far through 2 weeks.
That was the thing, yeah. Olamide Zaccheaus looked great. Luther Burden.
And the backfield was chaotic. It was like everybody except DeAndre Swift, and then through 2 weeks, it's like it's only DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, so the Bears don't look anything like they did a month ago from what we saw in
and this
the
is one of those things where it's like, I mean, this has happened.
We'll do it again next year.
Right. This has happened throughout the NFL. Like every week I'm lamenting the lack of Kyle Williams' use in New England, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a bunch of teams that had that where their rookies are seeing the field way less than we expected them to based off training camp or preseason deployment. This is one, though, where just given the simple, one data point of what we saw versus what we've seen so far, maybe you might want to go back to using the Burden some more. You know what I mean? When we were there, it looked good. And so did, the other young players they were using. And currently, the non-young players you're using don't look that great. Maybe you might want to, why not go back and see if Luther Burden can play?
And that might be part of the second half resurgence for the Bears. So we were talking Dolphins. We're buying them as not
bad.
Good.
Yeah.
Houston Texans are the last 0-2 team, buying or selling them as an 0-2 not good football team.
So, again, similar to Kansas City, they're not that bad. Like the offensive line, I think, is still a very big problem and definitely puts a cap on how good that team can be, but they don't stink.
Yeah. We were like, let's go back to the priors here. What was going to happen with the offensive line? And we said it was so bad last year. And it was so bad last year, more from what felt like a preparation and handling extra blitzes and stunts, and we thought, well, that's got to be shored up at least. Even though the personnel, man for man, isn't great, there's still plenty of question marks there for Houston. Maybe even worse. It's probably worse than we had anticipated. We thought Cam Robinson was at least going to be at left tackle, who's a reasonable pass blocker, and then you kind of fill in the rest. It hasn't been good, both man for man and from a preparation and facing blitzes and stunts. So you do your A/B analysis, right? It's like, well, was this Bobby? Was this the old offensive line coach? That's what we thought it might have been last year. Now all of a sudden they've got the same issues. They're just outmanned every time. They don't have hot reads behind the blitz. C.J. Stroud looks confused. He's not setting protection. He's allowing 4 rushers to come with on 2 blockers. Why are all these things happening?
That's an interesting development.
The same way.
That's different. So that's new and different. On the one hand, it looks exactly the same as it did a year ago, only instead of Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, you have worse players. So that's bad. The new element, though, is they made a big thing about Bobby Slowick wouldn't allow C.J. Stroud to operate at the line of scrimmage, and that's just caveman football, and we can't have that in today's NFL. So Bobby's on the way out, and now C.J. Stroud is going to be Peyton Manning at the line of scrimmage. He's going to have all the control. He sets the protections. He gets to deal with all that kind of stuff, right? And, okay, it's one play, but we saw last week where they went up to the line. They set the protection wrong from start to finish. At no point did C.J. Stroud even seem to realize it was wrong. Like, it was quite obviously the line is sliding to the right, whereas it probably should have been sliding to the left. Even if you're going to have it sliding to the right, you therefore need to know that almost certainly there's pressure coming from the left because of the way the Rams had lined up. So he said it wrong, didn't adjust it at the line, and then didn't seem to know that there was a free rusher coming from that side either. And so from start to finish, this was like a failing of C.J. Stroud. So at least on a small sample size so far, he hasn't shown the ability to, fix some of the things that were wrong from that protection setting standpoint. The one point I would make, though, I mean, the offensive line was garbage a year ago. They still won a bunch of games, made the playoffs. a lot like the Chiefs. Their 2 games so far have come against good opponents, the Rams and the Bucs, both of whom have a pretty good shot of winning their division and going to the playoffs, and they've been close, So like Kansas City, the difference between Houston winning and losing games might just be how good is your opponent.
Oh, yeah. They've played 2 good teams. I think I'm selling them as 0-2.
The next game is against the Jags, and I would assume they're favored for that game.
Yeah, it's a pivotal game for both teams here. But, yeah, I think Houston is much better than they've shown offensively. I said that a lot last year.
Yeah.
But I still think they have that in them. We've seen better from C.J. Stroud. I still believe in their receivers. Nick Chubb showing a little bit in the run game, even though there was rumor, there's some theories that the Bucs let him score that 25-yarder, which may be true.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be better offensively, and their defense still fierce. Pass rush is fierce. They've given up some plays on the back end, again, like last year, but I think they've got great potential on that side of the ball. So I'm selling the Texans as an 0-2 team, but they might be running out of time. Got to start winning.
Yep.
All right. Like that. 2-0, 0-2 teams. What's real? What's not?
I saw a clip. Now I didn't watch it, so I don't know what was actually said in the clip.
Don't do this.
I know.
Don't do it.
But the clip was entitled something like, "Should Daniel Jones be in the MVP conversations?" It was from McAfee. And my initial reaction to that was, what conversations? It's week 2. There is no MVP conversation in week 2.
No, there is.
There shouldn't be.
There has to be. There has to be.
How could there possibly be an MVP conversation in week 2?
I hate it. I mean, we're data-centric podcast here. Like, we like to look at numbers and interpret them and everything, but 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
You cannot possibly
out of 17
be having a rational conversation about MVP until, at the very minimum, like half the season has passed. Minimum. Before you're even talking about it.
That's, again, the problem with the MVP race is you view it like a horse. Right, you view it like a horse race. This guy's first, second, third, fourth. And this guy's first going into this week. Oh, he had a bad game, so he can't be first anymore. He's got to go to fourth. Or he can't be second anymore. Now he's eighth, right? And it's just spots. And then you lose the totality of the season, right? Like, a guy could be very clearly in front by week 13. No one should be even close to him, but he has one bad game. It's like, oh, he lost it, next guy up. When it's like, no, this guy could have 3 bad games and he's still better than everyone else. It's just a stupid thing. You brought it up. We're not doing it. We're not doing MVP races over here. But yes, I mean, if you want to list a 2-week MVP, Daniel Jones is in the conversation.
I mean, if we go through 6
September
more games,
Heisman.
If we go through 6 more games and it looks the same as this, then yeah, he's in a conversation for MVP. Until then, there is no conversation for MVP.
Yeah, and then you in part of the AB analysis there is like he joined a Colts team, which has been a middle of the pack type of team, and he's got them competing in the AFC. Stats aside.
Well, you have
that.
So it will be an interesting one. Just speculating for the moment that this maintains and everything stays the same, because it's one of those ones where, like, the whole point of MVP is it's kind of nebulous and silly, if we're being honest. Because you've got to quantify this value stuff. Now, on the one hand, you can quantify value the way PFF does with PFF WAR and say, from a statistical output point of view, this guy is worth X on each play, given the production, et cetera, et cetera. The other way of doing it, though, is the vibes way. And honestly, that's the way most of the 50 AP voters will do it, is what feels like the most valuable thing here. And when Lamar Jackson went and beat all the good teams, that was better vibes than Dak Prescott that year, who didn't beat the very good teams. So you got Danny Dimes, and if he can go out and ball for all 17 games this season, the feeling will still be Danny here is a product of the best supporting cast he's ever had, right? Danny is a product of that really good receiving core, a good offensive line, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, and that's how you're getting this really good play. So even if Danny Dimes has the strongest statistical case for MVP, I'm still not sure he'd win it because everyone is kind of going to assume it's not him. It's just this is what happens when you put Danny Dimes, who we thought was a fundamentally average quarterback, in a really good situation.
I completely disagree. I think they'd look at the fact that the Colts haven't been that good. They've been okay the last couple of years. They would give him all the credit.
But okay is not bad.
I know, but they like the story is more. He's been. This is what he's always. They would spin it the other way. This is what he's always been. The Giants did him wrong. Yes,
there's
this is what he's been.
No, there's like 5 lunatics that are going to be like, I was a Danny Dimes truther the whole way. This was always there. Like, no, it's like Sam Darnold last year.
The Giants did him wrong. They're going to go back to the Kevin O'Connell thing. Teams screw the quarterback more than the quarterback screws over the team.
Darnold last year, all the credit went to Kevin O'Connell. He won Coach of the Year, right? It was like,
look, but he was in the MVP conversation.
What I'm saying is,
he was
not really.
He was until he blew it. He was.
What I'm saying is, if that repeats, what's going to happen is Shane Steichen is way more likely to win Coach of the Year than Danny Dimes is to win MVP. That's what I'm saying.
I don't disagree with that, but if the statistical case lands on Daniel Jones, he's winning it.
No.
If at the end of the year he's top 3 in passer rating, and I know the nerds believe EPA is the thing that drives voters the most, even though they've never heard of it.
Hey,
if he's high in EPA.
There's some voters that have heard of EPA. Mina's a voter. She's heard of EPA. She knows what she's doing.
You and Mina know EPA. Tom Brady and Teddy Bruschi are calling each other.
Teddy Bruschi doesn't know EPA. Teddy's never heard of EPA.
Tom does, right?
Teddy thinks EPA is the drug that the cycling people take.
Jeez. Daniel, derailing the show that we're trying to end here. What else we got? What's happening in the chat? Anybody sign up for the Howard Hughes billionaire tier yet?
Not yet. Somebody was clarifying, though, which I thought was a good idea. They wanted to know if they paid to name the studio, would we be prepared to name it the Walt is Smarter Than Sam and Steve studio and read that out every time we do the show? And I think the answer is yes. We're not above that.
Yeah, until someone overrides it.
Right. I mean, obviously, it would be untrue, but we would be willing to say it for that person.
So that would be like, because technically you could jump into the billionaire tier for a month, pay the month and then bounce.
Yeah, we would have to, right. If we get more than one person, we'll have to do some sort of timeshare arrangement.
So then it's kind of like, at a bar, you've got like, you have like the dueling piano bar or whatever, put the dollar in this jar and that jar, whatever it is. They've got, forget it. So in Connecticut is right in between New York and Boston, right? And so it's right in between Yankees and Red Sox country. So you go into like a store and they'll have like a tip jar for Yankees fans and a tip jar for Red Sox fans.
That's right.
Like,
That's a New England thing.
Yeah. So I'm trying to use the right example here. We could do the naming rights where people, like it's whatever, Walt is Smarter Than Steve and Sam studio, but then someone else buys in and then they get to name it.
Yeah.
And it almost becomes like a contest.
It's a moot point at the moment because nobody's done that, but we have 3 shows at least a week. That's 3 separate occasions where we could read out the name of the studio.
Oh, we have the.
So my starting point would be, at the very minimum, we have the opportunity for 3 separate names of the studio just in our weekly cadence, independent of when we do a watch along and blah blah blah. Like there's other opportunities as well, but the minimum I would say is you've got 3 people that can have dueling names, and we can accommodate all of them.
Never been to a dueling piano bar, huh?
No, I haven't. Don't intend to either, to be honest.
Based off tips, they switch what they're playing and whatever. What are the other YouTube memberships?
We got the 3 tiers. We're still working on names for the first tier, but for the moment, it is the super fans. That is it's the best way of supporting this show that you all love. You don't lose anything, but you get extra perks and bonuses. You get member exclusive streams. We're going to be doing another one. Is it next Thursday? We're planning on
I think next Thursday.
A watch along stream.
What's the Thursday night game?
From our couch set over there.
Oh, Seahawks Cardinals next Thursday night.
Go.
That'll be the next. That'll be a member only stream.
Yeah, and not all of them will be the couch watch along. We're going to do some other things. We thought about going to the driving range, just you and me, seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, my back's feeling a little bit better now. I think I'm ready to crush some.
Time to ruin it. Yeah, perfect. Member exclusive emojis, all those kinds of things, custom or some member only photos, status updates, all that kind of jazz. The insider tier, that's where you get your name on the PFF studio. Damn it, I've done it again.
Oh, what are you doing?
What is that?
CTM.
Some vestige of right back in the lizard brain.
CTM,
this is what I'm saying.
studio.
This is the filing cabinet again, right?
You haven't driven to the PFF studio.
No,
yet, right?
I haven't done that yet.
I still fear
which is
that
actually
I'm
a miracle, by the way.
Sleepwalk to it by accident one
It's
time.
even more remarkable now that I've changed my way in so that I can get coffee on the way, and that's the same way as the PFF studio. So it's actually amazing at this point that I haven't driven there.
Sam thinks Trevor Lawrence is the best QB studio.
We could do that. Anyway, the Check the Mic studio. If you're a member of the Insider tier, you get your name up there on the wall. There is a video that appears at the end of every one of these shows now with all the names that are up there. You also get, all the previous stuff. You get the merchandise discount, and you get to text us. I don't think we've actually done that yet.
There's someone in the chat who wants to name the studio after his screen name that you shouldn't read out.
Okay.
And I'm like, but I don't know. There might be a cutoff point where we can't accept.
There might have to be a morals clause in that. Yeah. Anyway, the Howard Hughes Billionaire tier is the top one, and that is, you get yourself free access to any Check the Mic live event. You get obviously the naming rights of the studio. You can name the studio for whatever you want, essentially, with potential terms and conditions applied. And you get a custom Check the Mic merch gift package. We'll send you a bag of stuff.
We do need a PFF jar, like a swear jar.
I haven't done that in like a year, and then twice in a week I've dropped that.
I did one show last year.
And it's only the studio. For some reason, it's everything else my brain has adjusted. But as soon as we say studio, it's like the filing cabinet. Here, you need PFF. What? No. Shut up, brain.
Filing cabinet. The cabinet's only getting worse. Working on old Windows here. Superfan Insider, and then the Howard Hughes Billionaire tier. You just click join. There might be a plus button on some of your interfaces next to subscribe. Then you can check out all the information on the membership. No. Just read the join button, but we can't use your name, Dixon.
We could. I think we could do that. Because we'd have a lower third like this, so it would be spelled out, and it would just be kind of funny. I think we could get away with that.
It's about when you say it.
No, I know. You would have to be careful. It would be like you'd have to emphasize the right
with like
letters.
A long pause.
Right. It's like,
or you add a Berman nickname and put like Apple.
No, I think you just have
Cider.
to be careful with how you say it. It's like when you're, articulating Brooklyn bedding. You have to be the right emphasis just to make sure.
We forgot the Bucks for everything here. The Bucks are also 2-0.
Same story of they're legit.
We forgot everything. We forgot Calijah Kancey for a minute. Bucks are 2-0, and I'm buying the Bucks.
Yeah, they're good. They have a chance to win that division still. The good chance. They're still favorites. The question for them is, have they managed to do what Green Bay looks like they've done and jump the gap between good and great teams? That is a little bit more questionable.
They play the Eagles in 2 weeks.
Well, that'll give you a good idea.
Yeah, and they beat the Eagles last year, as Bucks fans always reminded me. All right. Is that it for us?
Apparently somebody named Carver joined the Insider today, so we're going to go write name on the wall as soon as we're finished.
Shout out to Carver.
The wall, which does not belong to PFF. It belongs to Check the Mic and the 33rd team.
Check the Mic. CTM, 33rd team.
Stupid filing cabinet brain.
All right, everybody. That's it for us today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow. More Check the Mic, 9 a.m. for our week 3 NFL preview. Check the Mic.
Just nothing but mistakes in this show.
33rd team, CTM.
See you tomorrow. Probably.
Tomorrow.